Welcome to another VMblog Work From Home series. Today, I have with me Sumedh Thakar, who is the President and Chief Product Officer for Qualys. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Welcome to the show. Maybe you can give our listeners just a short overview of who Qualys is.
Sure, yeah. So we are a cybersecurity platform. Essentially, we have been around for a few years. Initially started off providing security in the data centers, focusing mainly on vulnerability assessment, helping organizations. So we have some of the largest organizations in the world leveraging Qualys platform to ensure that they get sort of a hacker's eye view of their environment, so that they can be ahead of what the hackers are trying to do. And over the last few years, we have really expanded our cybersecurity platform into providing not just data center security, but also expanding into cloud, container, remote endpoints, mobile devices, as well as now into SaaS applications. And the idea is to really provide small, medium enterprises with a way to secure their infrastructure, as well as their applications and their endpoints.
So as part of our series that we have going on right now, this work from home series, the pandemic is a major topic, going on right now for everybody. Can you maybe talk a little bit about what you heard from your customers? Were they caught by surprise, or did they already have solutions in place to properly make that shift from the office to work from home?
I think there was a little bit of everything. Some companies were better prepared than others, but definitely everybody was caught off guard with the work from home situation. Because I think, when we talk about digital transformation over the last few years, many companies have focused on the server side, like moving their on-prem infrastructure into cloud and containers, etc. And so that helped to a certain extent, because you are not reliant on the data center or the office necessarily for running your applications. But I don't think what anybody had really planned for was the amount of people working from remotely in home and not having necessarily the right equipment or the right bandwidth, and a lot of those considerations. A lot of customers, a lot of people caught off guard, as it comes to IT. People were a little bit better prepared, because a lot of people have already moved into cloud-based email, cloud-based calendaring, and cloud-based chat, as well as cloud-based video conferencing solutions. So that worked out reasonably. But from a security perspective, a lot of people just had not thought about, what would I do if 4,000, 10,000 of my employees are working remotely and I need to patch their systems, and how do I get visibility across the threats? And new threats emerged. People started sending users a bunch of different attachments to compromise them. And a few companies had to deal with employees essentially leveraging their own personal devices now to do work, because they couldn't come in the office. My computer is not working. I'm going to have to use my own desktop, which, how secure is it? So yeah, that a lot of those things really came up for our customers.
So for some of your customers and companies that have already either made the change to a work from home model or are in the process of making that change, how has it affected in general the people, the connectivity, and the infrastructure?
So, for our customers, they first challenge really was to say, how do I get an overview of my overall security when I don't have the devices in front of me to look at and to do a quick assessment. Secondly, a lot of these devices, even though they were laptops and things like that, were really meant for occasional use when you're mobile, and maybe only the sales force was really using it. The rest of the overall security paradigm for the organization was based on leveraging the traditional tools like a firewall and a VPN, etc. But now with work from home, you don't have a firewall to protect that machine. That machine is directly on the internet, and it is its own perimeter, so to say. And so customers really were struggling to figure out, how do I get a overview of is the machine even set to have a screensaver be enabled when you are inactive for 2 minutes, right? Just from a security perspective. So it locks the machine. And nobody can come out and access the machine because you're sitting at a Starbucks or whatever it is. So I think that's really the challenges the customer faced. And the second was obviously, how do I patch those systems? Because I cannot use VPN. The biggest challenge that they faced was traditional patch management systems like SCCM and BigFix are installed in the office environment, and they are meant to patch systems once they're connected to the LAN. Trying to download a 350 meg Windows patch for the SMB Ghost vulnerability as an example, when you have 1,000 machines trying to do that at the same time, that's 350 gigs that has to go through your VPN, which most VPN was never meant for that, right? And that really caused a lot of issues for them. So that definitely caused our customers to very quickly start to look at cloud-based solutions where they could have those endpoints directly be managed and go to the cloud. That, the people joke about that, but it's true that to a certain extent, this pandemic has led to organizations moving much faster than expected in their digital transformation. To any resistance that people had to the cloud sort of quickly melted away in the face of not having any other options at the end of the day.
And can you dive down a little bit deeper and let us know how Qualys solutions help enable the work from home?
So yeah, we are a cloud-based platform since day one. I've been here for 18 years, and back then when we started, it wasn't even called the cloud or SaaS. So there was no fancy words to describe what we did. But I think what has really happened over a period of time is that having had that architecture set up correctly from day one, and not an on-prem solution trying to become cloud, we created a highly scalable platform that allowed a lot of large enterprises be able to deploy solutions across millions of devices. I mean, today we do 3 billion assessments a year. We have 40 plus million agents out there that our customers leverage. And so what Qualys has done is really created a platform for these small to medium and large enterprises have the ability to get an overview of their entire hybrid infrastructure in a single place. So instead of having siloed solutions, right, one that is looking at container is a different than one that is looking at cloud, which is different than the one that is looking at on-prem, and then laptop solutions are different. What we focused on is creating a solution where the data collection is enabled from all different types of infrastructure. All the data is collected in one place in the backend, and then that data is analyzed to provide security compliance views. And now we have branched into also providing response capabilities. So not only telling you that something is wrong, but also giving you a way to fix it, which is why with the remote work from home, when it came about, within a week, we were able to respond to our customers' needs and launch a free 60-day service that allows all of our customers to basically deploy Qualys for patch deployment rapidly on all of their devices, without really having to deal with signing agreements, etc. And with that, what we do is we really help organizations get a complete overview of all of their remote systems, no matter where they are, get a complete inventory of everything that's running on it, software, hardware, end-of-life systems, end-of-life software. From there on, they can get a complete visibility of all of the vulnerabilities that are critical and misconfigurations that can lead to compromises. So any vulnerabilities and misconfigurations leading to compromises, they can get an overview. And then after that, they can also use that same platform, same agent to also patch those systems remotely, which means that the systems will directly pull down the patches from the vendors and not have to go over VPN to pull those patches down. So we had customers that within a week were able to deploy 150,000 agents on all of their laptops, with every single employee sitting in a different location in the world, in their apartment, in their house, and still able to now get the full visibility and have a way to click a button and patch all those systems without having to worry about VPN, etc. And so that got a lot of good response. Customers were able to get on top of their patching. And then the second part after that is also getting a visibility of, you are in a home network. I have my work computer, right, sitting on the same network as my 13-year-old son's desktop that has Minecraft and all kinds of Fortnite and lots of different things that were pinging on my network. So do I have malware on my system? So instead of having another different solution, we consolidated that ability for that free service to also expand, not just patching, but also tell the organizations which of their computers actually are also compromised by malware. So that's sort of what we do to help customers on the remote endpoints get a better perspective of their security and also ability to actually take response actions.
You've already talked about some of the challenges that your customers have faced adapting to this new work from home. Maybe you can say, what are some of the biggest questions that your customers are having or facing?
Yeah, the biggest question is this, right? What is the threat to my organization, right? At the end of the day, patching and all of that is really about trying to minimize the threat. So the biggest question is, with everybody working remotely, is that, excuse me, is that increasing or reducing the threat? And what is the threat? And so what obviously happened is that with people working a lot more from home, we saw a surge in attacks that were targeted more towards people who are working at home, using the same machine for work as they are for looking up what's going on with COVID, and clicking on maps that had compromised downloadables, and those to people who were trying to just get additional information. So the biggest thing for the customers was, how do I know which of my endpoints are posing a risk to my critical assets and my critical data that is hosted in the on-prem environment or in the cloud? And then what do I do about it? And then those were really the questions that have come up and still continue to come up.
And you guys are obviously security experts, and we've talked about some of the challenges that your customers have faced. But if there are companies out there that aren't a Qualys customer, what kind of things would you say for them should be like top of mind, something that they should pay special attention to from a security standpoint when they do make a move to moving their employees from the office to home?
Yeah, I think the couple key vectors that we have seen. So for any organization, I think the most basic things that they need to do are get an asset inventory, right? So to know what devices do you have connecting to your environment, wherever they are. And then second is to know if those devices, and make sure that those devices are patched, whatever solution you use, because the first thing you want to do is make sure those devices are patched and they're configured correctly. But just by doing that, you significantly minimize the amount of attack vector that is otherwise produced when you're trying to, if you look at any Verizon data breach report or any of that, a lot of the compromises that happen are happening with vulnerabilities that have been there for a while but not patched in timely manner. Right. So any organization should first get an inventory of their assets. Second is to assess their misconfigurations and then patch and fix those. And that is going to help secure their remote endpoint. And then, of course, we continue to see, because of the remote working, enterprises have had to open up their networks and their VPNs much wider than they normally would to allow these remote employees to be working from home. So the other place that we have seen attacks come up have been on the VPN and concentrators themselves. So it's important not just the endpoints, but to also make sure that any of your VPN systems, that they are actually up to date and they are patched, and that you have redundancy for those, so that you can actually quickly, take one out of service and patch it in case that a compromise is happening against those, and then monitor those systems also to ensure that the expanded exposure is not being leveraged by the attackers to get into the system pretending to be a valid endpoint. And of course, the more admission control and etc. that can be stricter to allow only authorized devices through the VPN onto your network is going to be an additional benefit, where if you leverage two-factor authentication for VPN, that is really a must do today, to make sure that you leverage two-factor authentication on your VPN so that people can actually make sure that authorized people are coming through that VPN.
And what would you say are the key technologies and applications that are enabling people to work from home?
I think today a lot of, I mean, you know, if we take our own example, really what is making us still be so productive is the cloud-based solutions like, you know, where we are an O365 shop, but there's, you know, G Suite and the collaboration suite that is out there that is cloud-based. So whether it's email or whatever it is, we use Teams for chat, which has been the real backbone for our entire continued communication. There's Slack out there that people are leveraging. And then obviously the video conferencing, cloud-based video conferencing like Zoom and BlueJeans and WebEx and even Google's own Meet have been really, really crucial to make sure that as this work from home because of the pandemic is prolonging, it's a lot more effective to have video meetings rather than just have sort of audio meetings where people, as they're sitting home, they start to disconnect more and more from the organization if they never really see anybody and there is no face-to-face interaction. So I think at the minimum, those productivity suites in a cloud-based productivity suites are helping you get productive with the day-to-day stuff. And then of course, organizations that have reduced their reliance on on-prem systems on their data center, et cetera, and have moved things into the cloud, that makes it even easier for somebody to be remote and be managing their data center in an AWS through a web console rather than having to use complex systems that are in the data center to manage your systems and services. So I think those kind of transformations are helping organizations continue to be quite productive despite the pandemic and work from home.
And if you had a crystal ball, what happens next? And by that, I mean, so all these people that are working from home today, it's for many folks, it's a new thing, but they might be enjoying, you know, working at home in their t-shirts and shorts and flip-flops. And do companies going forward, as things open back up, do companies bring those folks back in? Do you see them continuing to work from home? Is there some hybrid approach? And then on top of that, do you see a cost savings for companies to in the future make that switch and allow more people to work from home and thereby, you know, have a smaller footprint of an office space?
Yeah, I think this is definitely a reality that is going to happen more and more moving forward. So, I mean, as always, the answer probably somewhere in between. I think even during this period, people have sort of gone in a wave form where, you know, initially they just really liked working from home the first couple of weeks. Then people were like, this is too much. I wish I could go back to the office. Then that kind of settled in. Then people are, you know, liking working from home. Then after a month, they're like, okay, maybe I should have a few more meetings in person, not necessarily be in the office all the time. And I think as organizations have proven to themselves that they actually can essentially be very productive working with employees working remotely, that is going to be top of the mind for many organizations, that this is going to be the new reality, that in some form or the other, there will be a bunch of employees that will be working remotely. It opens up additional opportunities to hire people in different geographic areas that the company may not have considered in the past. Some companies will consider reducing the footprint. I think there is definitely a certain amount of loss of productivity not having the face-to-face communication. So there will still be people who will be looking to have offices and people coming in and working together face-to-face to a certain extent. But you know, it is going to be a part and parcel for every organization, pretty much, that some amount of work from home or work remote is going to be a complete reality, and which means that they have to change and adapt to the new thought process. And, you know, we've been talking about the fact that, hey, networks are disappearing and complex networks are disappearing because you sort of are now down to that individual laptop, is no matter whether it's a Starbucks or whatever it is the perimeter by itself. So the new world is going to be, how do I redo my overall systems so that anybody from anywhere can potentially access my the critical things that they need to access in a secure manner without needing VPNs, right? So I think the big hit here is going to be, again, this is just my prediction, is that people have quickly realized that if this thing is going to scale, then the approach of a VPN where everything comes through one place and goes out is not going to be feasible in the longer term. And so people will move towards more cloud-based solutions that allow anybody with a device to be able to connect to any system with securely. And I think those companies that can move quickly to make that happen will have much more opportunities in terms of saving cost and hiring more diverse workforce in different areas, and by doing that also be able to save cost, etc. So I kind of feel like that's the direction that we're going to go.
Well, thanks. Before we let you go, maybe you can tell our listeners where can they go if they want to find out more information about Qualys and some of the things you talked about today, and what's a good place for them to start?
Yeah, I think just we are a completely cloud-based service, so the best approach is to basically sign up and try our services without really having to ship boxes or install or anything like that. So I think going to qualys.com/remote patching is the best place to get started. And if you are an existing Qualys customer, this capability can be enabled right away. If you are a new customer, you sign up and we will send you a link to sign into our platform. And from there on, you can within a couple of hours be able to get started with getting a visibility across multiple devices, and also be productive in patching without having to open up any additional ports, etc. So highly recommend to give that a try and see how that works out. We have the 60-day free service that gives you the ability to detect all your devices, find all the inventory, find all of the vulnerability misconfigurations, patch the vulnerabilities, and then also be able to detect the systems that actually might be compromised with malware already with a single agent. Please give us feedback, and we hope that the service does help you become more secure by being able to leverage the patching capability and the malware detection capability that we provide.
Well, I want to thank you for being part of our Work From Home series, and we look forward to speaking with you again.
All right, thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you guys.
I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more of these VMblog videos, please hit the like button and subscribe. And it's important, if you want to get notified the next time we post a video, please hit the subscribe and the bell notification.